What's up guys, Firewolf Tech here, showing you guys the LG 32GS95UE UltraGear OLED gaming monitor. This is a 32-inch, technically a 31.5-inch 4K OLED monitor that has a special dual mode button that scales it down to a 1080p monitor, which is a world's first. Why, you might ask? Well, for those looking for an insane 480Hz refresh rate to slap on the battlefield, then this dual mode button is for you. For everyone else, the standard 4K 240Hz is more than enough to enjoy some fire high fidelity gaming with creamy blacks thanks to OLED. Looking deeper into the specs, the 32GS95UE has a 16:9 flat screen display, a 98.5% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage, a 0.03 millisecond response time, and an anti-glare low reflection matte coating. Now I know some of you guys are going to be turned off about the matte coating, but there are pros which I'll cover later in this video. NVIDIA G-Sync compatible and AMD FreeSync Premium Pro is baked into this monitor for a better gaming experience. And you get an awesome pixel sound system that fires sound directly behind the OLED screen. All of this adds up to a premium and expensive price tag of $1,399. So you and I both want to know if this gaming monitor deserves a spot in your gaming desk setup. The 32GS95UE sports LG's new Unity hexagonal design, which gives you a subtle design in the back with the more refined RGB lighting that shoots around the middle. I love the new space-saving L-shaped stand that will look good on top of any desk. The cable management on the stand does a great job in hiding your cables as well. You get a good amount of height adjustment, tilt, swivel, and it can pivot all the way around for a nice vertical setup. The stand is very sturdy as well, but as you guys might know already, I prefer using a monitor arm for a floating look and even more space. Thankfully, this monitor isn't heavy, weighing in at 12.3 pounds, which means that you'll be able to find a good amount of monitor arms from budget friendly to premium ones. For inputs, we get two HDMI 2.1 ports, one DisplayPort 1.4, one USB 3.0 upstream with two USB-A ports, but unfortunately there's no USB-C DisplayPort input, which for the price is a huge miss to me. Directly underneath the display, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack and a special dual mode button to quickly switch from 4K 240 to 1080p at 480Hz. Just above that, we have a 4-directional joystick to control the menu. Now let's test out the gaming performance of this 4K 32-inch UltraGear OLED monitor using my gaming PC equipped with an RTX 4090 and an AMD 7950 X3D. I'll showcase gaming on my black build with the 4080 Super as well. 4K OLED gaming at 240Hz is fire. You get an ultra low 0.03 millisecond response time, and NVIDIA G-Sync works great, ensuring buttery smooth gameplay. On Modern Warfare 3, running DLSS on ultra performance and graphics set to ultra gives me the needed boost to achieve a steady 240 plus frames per second on my RTX 4090 GPU. Everything feels so responsive and looks amazing. There's a lot of options and presets in the menu settings to give you a better gaming experience depending on the type of game you play. For FPS shooters, being able to control the black levels is great so you can see enemies in the dark. Whether you're gaming on SDR or HDR, I like that this monitor lets you adjust those black levels. While we're still talking about first-person shooters, the standout feature of this monitor is the dual mode option that lets you downscale the native resolution from 4K to 1080p. And while you could change a game's resolution in the settings, you can't increase the native refresh rate. The dual mode literally doubles the refresh rate all the way up to 480Hz when in 1080p, which is crazy fast. This allows your gaming PC to output higher frames versus 4K. Gaming at 480 frames per second is crazy, but in my experience on Modern Warfare 3, I just don't see that much of a huge difference. I think the biggest downside of this 1080p mode for me is that not only do I have to play in a lower resolution, but I also have to drop graphic settings all the way down to the bare bone minimum on top of DLSS set to ultra performance just to flirt with 480 FPS. Instead, I had a way better experience just leaving graphics on extreme and using DLSS on balanced, and I would average between 400 to 430 FPS, but with better graphics. Now, of course, on games that are less graphically demanding, you're probably going to be able to achieve even higher frames, so you might not need to set the graphics so low. This dual mode 1080p has 3 different sizes that you can play on. The first option is full wide, which gives you 1080p using the whole screen. Next, you can emulate a 27-inch screen with black bars surrounding your field of view, and it's honestly not that bad since OLED gives you true blacks. And finally, there's a 24-inch option, which in my opinion looked the best in terms of sharpness and pixel density. I like how whichever dual mode screen option you left it at, the dual mode button will automatically choose that option, which saves a lot of time. You can enable dual mode in game, but sometimes you'll experience the game freeze and some flickering. I recommend changing it before you start the game for optimal results. As a gamer, having both options to either enjoy high fidelity gaming or ultra fast performance is really awesome. It has versatility, which is a huge plus in my opinion. If you ask me though, I personally prefer gaming on 4K even when playing fast action games because of that visual fidelity. 240Hz is still very fast, but for other games like Forza 5 or Horizon Forbidden West, it just looks so stunning on this OLED display, and you're gonna always want to play these type of games in 4K. Another great feature of this monitor is the built-in Pixel Sound speaker system, which surprisingly sounds really good. If I had a tight space or limited funds, after dropping almost $1,400, you might not need to get external speakers for a while. It surprisingly has deep bass thanks to the two woofers and can get pretty loud. You have 3-dimensional sound with DTS Virtual X EQ settings that are optimized for gaming, entertainment, and sports, and you also have the option to completely turn it off. The sound is not as great as my NZXT Relay speakers, but I want to say that these sound like a decent $100 speaker system. What makes this sound system unique is that the sound is being fired from underneath the panel instead of on the bottom or sides like other traditional monitors. This makes it sound more immersive. Now, I'm no audiophile though, but in my opinion, the speakers are some of the best that I've heard coming from a monitor. If you already have external speakers, then chances are you'd still prefer them over these anyway. Now let's talk about this matte coating that a lot of you guys are probably concerned about. LG went with an anti-glare low reflection matte coating to fight harsh light sources. This makes it a better experience when using it during the day, and especially if you have large windows that let in a lot of sunlight. It's not going to be the prettiest though, and many display enthusiasts will hate the fact that matte ruins a clean and smooth image, but in my opinion, the matte coating isn't that bad. And if you're someone who already has an older monitor with a matte display, it's probably not going to bother you at all. If you have already experienced QD OLED or glossy OLED TVs, then there's a high chance you might be turned off about it. Comparing the super gloss display of the LG C4 that I reviewed over the 32GS95UE, and you'll see a dramatic difference. Matte coating by day is awesome, unless if you really like the mirrored look from a glossy display, and at night the matte coating is less obvious, but still isn't going to be as great as QD OLED or glossy OLED panels in the dark. This monitor is also VESA Display HDR True Black 400 certified, which is the lowest entry level for True Black, but it means you're getting a minimum HDR peak luminance of 400 nits of brightness and amazing deep blacks. I measured out the brightness using the peak brightness set to high, and I got 276 nits at a 100% SDR window and 366 nits at a 25% window. HDR peak at 100%, I got 265 nits and 414 nits at a 25% window. The brightness levels to me are great and a huge step up from last year's OLED monitors. Colors also look amazing with a 98.5% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage and many color presets and settings to tweak to your liking. Now, I would have loved LG to factory color calibrate these displays for better accuracy since you are dropping a lot of money. Testing out the PS5, you'll get full support for 4K resolution with variable refresh rates all the way up to 120Hz. This is great for unlocking your console's full potential, and you get to enjoy smoother gameplay for games that support it. There's an auto input switch which is convenient when you power on your PS5, and I'm really interested to see how the PS5 will handle the 1080p dual mode switch. And surprisingly, the PS5 automatically switches the resolution seamlessly from 4K to 1080p and vice versa. You do have to calibrate HDR, but only once for each resolution. After that, I found it so cool how efficient the PS5 transitions with the dual mode. Now, there's absolutely no benefit in switching it down to 1080p unless if you wanted to play in a smaller window. Otherwise, you definitely want 4K. Since this monitor has great quality speakers, you won't need to rely on using separate connections to use external speakers, which is great for console gamers. You can adjust the volume in the settings, but I do wish it came with a remote. Overall, this is a great choice for console gamers looking for a 4K monitor that checks all of the boxes. For the price of this monitor, I'm still disappointed in not seeing a USB-C DisplayPort option, which would have made connecting your MacBook or gaming laptop so much easier. Instead, you'll have to rely on using your laptop's available ports or using a USB-C connection to either HDMI or DisplayPort. Thankfully, there are extra HDMI 2.1 ports, so you can definitely use a USB-C to HDMI 2.1 cable. Now, connecting my M3 MacBook Pro, I'm able to experience the full 4K resolution at the 240Hz, which is awesome. macOS looks amazing on the display, but I still wish that this monitor at least had some type of KVM switch to fully utilize that USB hub in the back. One of the biggest concerns of OLED monitors is OLED burn-in, but thankfully there are a lot of built-in features that help prevent the chances of this occurring. You have OLED screen move, which would move the screen at regular intervals for 4 different modes, which by default this feature is left off. Next is OLED screen saver, which will turn off the screen when it doesn't detect movement. And finally, the most important feature, you can manually perform an OLED image clean, which will keep your display lasting longer. This monitor will also automatically perform an OLED image clean after 4 hours of cumulative use when the monitor powers off, which is smart and convenient. You'll also get a confirmation pop-up the next time you power on your monitor. Now, despite all that, what happens if you do end up getting burn-in? Well, LG does include a 2-year UltraGear OLED warranty, which will also include OLED burn-in for peace of mind. Oh, but it doesn't say OLED burn-in. Well, someone did ask LG and they responded with a hard yes, so you're good. To access the menu settings, there's a 4-directional joystick on the back, which is similar to other UltraGear monitors. Pressing the button brings up 2 shortcuts that you can customize, and pressing the button again brings up the full menu. There's a lot of customization options and useful info on the top, and you have a ton of options to change things like game visual presets, color changes, sound. There's a lot you can tweak. Under general is where you'll find hexagon lighting to enable the RGB lighting on the back. By default, this is left off. You can have 4 different static colors and a cycling mode that cycles through all the colors. They had a nice subtle ambient touch, but I would have liked to see more color modes and also have brighter RGB lighting because the lighting can be on the lower side. Another thing you could do as well is disable display stream compression for those that find that important to change. Using this monitor for productivity is fire. With a screen size of 31.46 inches and a 3840 by 2160 resolution, we get a pixel density of 140 pixels per inch, which helps make text and small details a lot sharper. I find text clarity to be perfect, with color fringing being almost non-existent to my eyes. Using 2 windows side by side is great for multitasking, and I found squeezing a 3rd window to be just fine. So for those that like having different web pages or programs open, this does a good job. Editing with DaVinci Resolve was also a great experience on this monitor. I think 4K resolution is perfect for a 32-inch monitor, and it really helps with my creative workflow. The matte coating doesn't bother me at all, and I really start to appreciate it more when I let in that beautiful natural sunlight and still being able to enjoy this OLED screen. So to the ultimate question, does the LG 32GS95UE deserve a spot in your gaming desk setup? It's tough to answer since it really depends on your setup, features you might want, and lighting conditions. After all, this is a world's first VESA certified dual mode gaming monitor, and because of that, this monitor is very expensive at almost $1,400, so this is really geared towards someone looking at a high quality premium monitor. These are the reasons why I would recommend this gaming monitor. 1, you're a gamer who wants ultra fast refresh rates where those extra frames could give you that competitive advantage. 1080p at 480Hz will definitely satisfy you, but you also have the standard option of enjoying beautiful 4K for not only gaming but productivity apps and web browsing. Reason number 2, maybe your desk setup is very limited space where you can only have one dedicated monitor. The 32GS95UE has great sound quality, a great space saving stand, and this also gives you a nice 2-in-1 solution with that dual mode. Reason number 3, you don't have a lot of lighting control and you plan on using this monitor throughout the day. Whether it's super sunny or dark, this matte coating will be a huge plus for you. And for my last reason, you might have a graphics card that isn't great at 4K gaming, but when you enable that 1080p mode, you'll see a huge performance increase in FPS, which means you get to enjoy some really good fast action gaming. Outside of that, if you're someone who's looking for the best picture quality or the best clarity, then this isn't for you. No matter how great this OLED display is, you won't be satisfied with it because you want that glossier display, which is superb, especially when you have lighting control and use it in a darker setting. I think for most people who already have IPS or VA panel monitors, you're really not going to mind. If this was just a 4K 240Hz OLED monitor, then yes, the price makes it really hard to justify. But when you add in the unique dual mode and pixel sound, then in my opinion, this monitor deserves a chance at your gaming desk setup. By now, you should see some deals and discounts, which I think would increase the value of this monitor. I mean, where else can you get a monitor that does 4K 240 and 1080 at 480Hz? So for those reasons, I recommend getting this monitor. If you're interested in getting this monitor or the many tech that you've seen in this video, I will have affiliate links down below, which also helps to support the Firewolf Tech channel. I want to thank you for sticking to the end of this video, and would also like to know your thoughts and feedbacks in the comments down below. I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and I would love your support with a like, share, and subscribe. Firewolf out.